Good day, everyone. We are here for another discussion on ELE 150, English for Specific Purposes. And today we're going to discuss Lesson 7, English for Specific Purposes, Learners and Teachers. But before we proceed to our proper discussion, let us know first our learning outcomes. At the end of the lesson, the students can A. Identify the role of the ESP learners and teachers. B. Differentiate the learners and teachers in ESP and EGP. C. Adopt the role of learners and teachers to achieve successful learning. And D. Design a diagram that would summarize the role of teachers and learners in ESP. Now, to begin our discussion, let us have some review of the basic features of ESP. Number 1, ESP is goal-oriented. This is because we study English for a specific goal or a purpose. For example, your goal is to step up on the next grade level. Well, if you are still in a lower grade like high school or in college. Or goal to improve your English, to improve also your performance in your work. Number 2, ESP is based on needs analysis. English for a specific goal. We also study English based on our needs that needs to be fulfilled. And we can only achieve that by analyzing our students' needs. Those are their initial needs, learning needs, and the target or end-of-course requirements. Number 3, ESP is time-bound. Because students study English for a specific purpose, they do not intend to spend too much time engaging in indirect learning activities and exercises. So each session aims to contribute to the end goal, which should be met at a specified time or duration. Number 4, ESP is for adults. So most often, the students of ESP is adult or are adults, simply because they are the ones who are opting to learn English as a preparation for higher learning or for the workplace. The last basic feature of ESP is discipline specific, and this is another way to say that ESP is organized. ESP courses are written to fit a particular group of students who belong to the same field of study, which means that you cannot enroll in a class. You can only enroll in a class that caters your needs and in the line of your field as well. For example, if you're a nurse, you cannot enroll in an English class of those engineering learners. Now we are done with the basic features of ESP. Let us proceed to what differs the ESP or English for specific purposes and EGP English for general purposes when it comes to their teachers and learners. So in ESP, their learners are most likely are working adults. As what I've said a while ago, it is for the preparation for higher learning or for their workplace, while the learners of ESP are those who are in lower grades, secondary level, or the junior and senior high school, and tertiary or the college. As for their teachers, in ESP, teachers were teaching specific needs as it was based on their students' needs analysis. And for EGP, their teacher were teaching the basic or the general English, those that need to be learned in school kind of English. Now we can finally discuss the roles of teacher and learners in ESP. Let us go first with the role of teachers and English for specific purposes. So their number 1 role is as the teachers. The English for specific purposes teachers is teaching the English language, of course. But it doesn't mean that they only are a language provider, but also they can be a need analyst. Which means that he or she has to understand his or her students or learners' needs to understand their knowledge of the content. So therefore, it can bring the relevant materials required by the group of learners in class, and that is according to Bohovic 2006. Second rule, ESP teachers as a course designer and material provider. So ESP teacher can modify the activities to suit the learner's needs. And in case both possibilities are not in hand, the ESP teachers can generate their own. That's according to ELE, Evans, and St. John 1998. So this simply means that they can provide materials and make changes in the strategy that should be used in the learners as long as it's still based on their need analysis. Third role, ESP teacher as a researcher. So, according to Sirocco 2008, the ESP teachers have to research their own goal and what they want to achieve. So before designing courses or providing materials, the teacher needs to do the researches in investigating the genres of text, language, and skills required by the specific field of study. For example, ESP teacher often attend the classes, talk to the administration staff, and then investigate the strategies learners need in their learning. The fourth role, ESP teacher as a collaborator. So according to Noonan and Lam 1996, the activities such as coordinating with colleagues are considered to be an essential step in any educational task. So ESP teacher does not have an exception since one of his or her role is to cooperate with the subject specialist. The objective behind this cooperation is to know about the subject skills, tasks, and syllabus. Also discover how the subject integrates with the language to bring the suitable materials and courses for the learners. The fifth and the last role, ESP teacher as an evaluator. So in teaching language, evaluation plays a role as feedback for learners and the course achievement, according to Dudley, Evans, and St. John 1998. Evaluation should be carried out by the teacher because the teacher knows the learner's specialty and needs. Furthermore, he or she is expected to understand the classroom problems and knows the kind of evaluation which is relevant to her and his learners. Since we are done with the teacher roles, let us proceed to the role of students or learners in English for specific purposes. First role, the students or learner are in ESP class with specific interest in learning, subject matter knowledge, and well-built adult learning strategies. So again, ESP learners should have a goal or at least interest in enrolling the class and has an idea what he or she should learn, and of course, as an adult, have the strategy to learn the language easily. Second role, students are in charge of developing English language skills to reflect their native language and skills. They also have opportunities to understand with the language in a context that they comprehend and know in this context. ESP has a powerful means for such opportunity. Third role, the students will acquire English as they work with materials which they find interesting and relevant that they can use in their professional work or even further studies. So, as what I've said in the first role of students, they have to have strategies in learning the language easily. Fourth role, students or learners in ESP classes are generally aware of the purposes they will need to use English. So knowledge of the subject area enables them to identify a real context for the vocabulary and structures of the ESP classroom. Fifth and last role of students or learners in ESP. So they should constantly expand their vocabulary, become more fluent in their field, and of course adjust their linguistic behavior to new situations or new roles. They can exploit his innate competencies in learning English. And that ends our discussion. Thank you for listening. Hope you learned something from this lesson. This has been Harilisa El Sabdullah. Have a nice day.